Today I am reading from the seventh book in the Left Behind series. This book is called The Indwelling, and today I am reading chapter 10. And I'll begin to read now. Buck was having a crisis of conscience. It would have been one thing to be harboring Carpathia's assassin had it been Rayford or another misguided believer for whom the deed could have at least been rationalized as an act of war. But Chaim, he professed no faith toward Carpathia from a spiritual standpoint. The man had committed first-degree murder, and regardless of what Buck thought about the victim, it was a crime. So what are you going to do? Chaim pressed him as they laughed at the night visitors' hotel in Jerusalem. Turn me in, abandon me. Your conscience can't take what I did to your worst enemy. I cannot abide what I have done to my dearest friends. They died for me. Greater love hath no man. You've quoted that before, Cameron, and I know where you want to go with it, but they had no choice. Perhaps they would have died for me voluntarily, but this was my doing. I forced their deaths. Would you have done the same for them? Would you have died for them? I'd like to think I would. I should now. Stop talking like that. You think I am not sincere? The only thing standing in the way are you and my cowardice. Cowardice? You planned the assassination for months, virtually told me you were going to do it by showing me your blade making. I don't know where my head was, and you pulled it off according to plan. Right or wrong, it was hardly evidence of cowardice. Ah, Chaim waved him off. I am a fool and a coward, and the blood of my people is on my hands. Buck paced. Because the GC are already announcing that you're dead, they can kill you without explanation. Let them. I deserve it. I am a murderer. Buck turned the chair backward and straddled it. What happens when your victim comes back to life? Then what is your crime? Attempted murder? What if there is no evidence of the wound you inflicted? You're talking crazy now, Cameron. It's going to happen, Chaim. I know you say that, said Tyson. But come now, the man was in my lap when I thrust the blade into his brain. For all practical purposes, he was dead before he hit the floor. He could not have survived it. You can't really believe he is coming back to life. What if he does? Chaim waved him off again. Don't do that. You're an intellectual, a lifelong student and teacher and scientist. Humor the debate. What if Carpathia comes back to life? Chaim rolled on the bed and turned his back to Buck. Then I guess you'll be all right. I'll be wrong. You'll win. You're not pretending that it has actually happened. You said yourself, I have a thinking man's brain. I find it impossible to consider impossibilities. That's why we've never gotten through to you. All our arguing and pleading. You've gotten through more than you know, Cameron. I have come from atheism to agnosticism, and finally to believe in God. You believe? In God, yes, I told you that. Too many things have happened that can be explained no other way. Then why not Carpathia's resurrection? You can't tell me that you yourself actually believe this, Chaim said. Oh, yes, I can, and I do. You forget I was there when Eli and Moshe came back to life after 3 days in the hot sun. You believe what you want to believe. Buck looked at his watch. I wish it would get dark. I want out of here. You should leave me, young friend. Distance yourself from me. Pretend you never met me. Buck shook his head, though Chaim was still turned away from him. Can't do that, he said. We go back way too far. I was merely the subject of an article. We didn't have to become friends. But we did, and now I love you and can't let you go. You think you have nothing else to live for? True enough. But you do. You do. You know what I fear for you, Chaim? You're afraid I will die in unbelief and go to hell. There's something more frightening. What if you wait too long to change your mind and God hardens your heart? Meaning, Chaim rolled over to face him, meaning that you finally decide it's true and want to give yourself to Christ, but you had already pushed God past where he will allow you to come back. Explain to me how that fits with your view of a loving God who is not willing that any should perish. I don't understand it myself, Chaim. I'm new at this. But Dr. Ben Judah teaches that the Bible warns about just that during the end times. Be careful that you don't go too far, that you ignore too many warnings and signs. God would do that? I believe so. To me, why not? Chaim let his head rest on the mattress, then covered his face with his arms. Ready to engage in the debate? Buck pressed. I'm tired, Cameron. I'm tired, Cameron. You slept well. I slept not well. How could I? I can't imagine. But this is too important for you to brush aside. You have pleaded with me before. I have heard every argument from you and from Tyson. I can make your case for you. Then think about what may happen to you. Say I get cold feet and abandon you. Even if you are a coward and unable to take your own life, someone is going to take it for you. Then what? I like to believe death is the end. It's not, Buck said. Listen to the new believer full of knowledge you can't know. Chaim, if all this stuff that has amazed you and made you believe God is real, why shouldn't heaven and hell be real? If there's a God, why would we want you to die and disappear into nothingness? It makes no sense. You're repeating yourself. You're holding out, Chaim. You're like the faint hearted who wanted one more sign. I just don't want you to wait past the point of no return. Ugh. Just think about it, will you? What it would mean if the prophecy were fulfilled. Nikolai was the Antichrist, and he resurrected from the dead. I don't want to think about it. I want to die. You wouldn't if you believed what I believe. That I agree with. You do? Of course. Who would want to go to hell? You don't have to, Chaim. God has. I know. All right. I know. Stop talking. I will, but just consider, please, how you would feel if Nikolai, for the love of. I'll shut up now, Chaim. But Buck's phone rang. Maybe there is a God, Chaim said. The patron saint of phones has saved me. This is Buck. Buck, is it really you? Hattie! Buck stood so quickly his chair bounced away. Where are you? Colorado, she said. You're on a secure phone? One thing I absconded with, one of those from your friend on the inside. I'm listening. The GC think I'm dumber than I am. They released me from prison, gave me money, and then followed me here. I know they were disappointed I didn't go to Israel, but I wanted to see if any of my family was left. And her voice caught. No, not for a while. But you know where they hope I'll go now? Exactly where I hope you won't go. Buck, I have nowhere else to turn. He ran a hand through his hair. I'd love to help you, Hattie, but I understand. I had my chance. That's not it. It's all right, Buck. You owe me nothing. It has nothing to do with owing you anything, Hattie. I'm in the middle of a situation myself, and until you can shake the GC, I can't advise that you head back to the safe house. Everybody's welfare is at stake. I know, she said, and he heard the terror in her voice. Would you please tell everyone that I never told anyone where they were? Hattie, you as much as put Bo and Ernie on our doorstep? They couldn't have found their way back there. Anyway, they're both dead, and if they had told anyone, you'd have been raided by now. What will you do, Hattie? I don't know, she said wearily. Maybe I'll just run these goons on a wild goose chase until they get tired of me. Heaven knows they gave me enough money. They're not going to let you out of their sight. And don't think they couldn't patch in even to this call. They're watching my car. They think I'm eating. Good time to slip away. Too open. I've got to get them to somewhere more densely populated, maybe Denver. Be careful. Thanks for nothing. Hattie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that, Buck. I was trying to be funny. Nothing's funny anymore, is it? If you shake them and are sure, try me again. May not be at the same place, but if we can accommodate you, you would, wouldn't you? Of course we would. You know us. Yes, I do. You all were better than I deserved. I'd better get off. Yeah, I suppose you'd heard they're trying to pin the assassination on Rayford. I heard. It has to be a frame up. He probably wasn't even there. He was there, but he didn't do it. You don't have to convince me. Rayford killed somebody? Not in a million years. I know him better than that. Listen, just tell everybody I'm safe, and so are they, and thanks for everything I didn't deserve. Hattie, we all love you and are praying for you. I know you are, Buck. David, stunned at the difference between Dr. Eikenberry's public pronouncements and the autopsy, frantically searched his database for a meeting between her and Fortunato prior to the meeting with management. He had to know what approach Leon had used, in case Leon tried the same with him. Via his hard drive, he bounced all over the compound but had no luck. He did, however, come upon a private meeting between Leon and an unidentified male in a conference room near Carpathia's office. And how long have you been working for us, sir? Almost from the beginning, mister. For Supreme Commander? And you're from Greenland. You enjoy your work? Until the assassination, yes. The shooting? Well, I meant the stabbing. The assassination of those two guys at the Temple Mount. That was exciting. I mean to see His Excellency put them in place. But you didn't enjoy your job as much when you saw the Potent himself murdered? No, sir. I kept the camera right on him, but it was the hardest thing I've ever done. You know, the autopsy is finished, and it was the gunshot that killed the Potent. David could not decipher the response, but it sounded like a snort. But there was only one gunshot, Commander. There was only one needed, son. It was a weapon identical to the one His Excellency used on the troublemaking at the Wailing Wall. I understand that, but from where I sat, above stage left, I saw the wood speakers thing. The lectern? Yeah, that. I saw that get hit and the curtain go flying. No way that bullet also hit the Potent. He was closer to me. Nevertheless, it has been determined that, excuse me, Commander, but the real murder happened right below me, and I saw it happen. And you have reviewed this, watched it over and over, couldn't believe it. And you discussed it with whom? Just my boss. That would be Mr. Bakar? Yes, sir. Footsteps, a door opening. More faintly, Margaret, would you have Mr. Bakar join us, please? Thank you. The door shut, and David heard Leon's chair. Look into my eyes, son. There, yes, you trust me, do you not? Of course. When your superior gets here, I am going to tell you both what you saw and what you will remember. Excuse me? I am going to tell you what you saw and what you will remember. But, sir, I know you understand that I will soon become the new Potent, don't you? I assume that. Yes, sir. You did? I think most people assume that. Do they? No response. Do they? Leon repeated. Don't just nod. Tell me. The young man's voice sounded hollow. Yes. You understand that my new title will be Supreme Potent and that I must also be addressed as Excellency? Yes, Commander. You may try out the new title now. Yes, Excellency. And you realize that I will not only be worthy of worship, but also that worship of me will be mandatory. Yes, Excellency. Call me Potent, Supreme Potent. Yes, Supreme Potent. Would you like to kneel before me? Silence, then a knock and a loud sigh from Leon, the door opening. Excuse me, Commander, but Mr. Bakar is currently engaged in... Margaret, Leon hissed fiercely, do not interrupt me again. I'm sorry, sir. I don't want apologies, and I don't want to hear that my subordinates have more important things to do. The next person through this door had better be Mr. Bakar, And for your sake, it had better be within 90 seconds. Right away, sir. The door, the chair. Now then, son, where were we? I was worshiping you, Supreme Potent. Another chair. That's it. Yes, kneel before me and kiss my ring. I see no ring, sir. Kiss my finger where the ring will soon be. A quick knock at the door opening. Bakar's voice. Forgive me, Commander. What the devil is going on? Sit, Director. What's he doing on the floor? He was just about to tell me what was on the video disc you brought back from Jerusalem. You've seen it, haven't you, Supreme Commander? Of course, but it seems there's a discrepancy between what he and I saw and what you apparently saw. Oh? Yes, Fortunato said. Return to your chair and tell your boss what you saw. I heard the gunshot and saw the potent's head snap back. I get it, Bakar said. A joke. Now the gun killed him? We all know that's not true. It's true, the cameraman said. Yeah, I was born yesterday and went blind today. Did you go blind, Bakar? Leon said soothingly. Lean across the table here and let me see your eyes. My eyes are fine. Commander, Bakar, are you listening to me? Of course, but are you listening? Yes. Are you listening? Really listening? Silence. I have your attention now, don't I, Bakar? You do, sir. Bakar, you understand that I will soon become the new potentate, don't you? David could stand to listen no more and clicked away from the feed. He stood, dizzy and sick to his stomach. He called Annie and apologized for waking her. What is it, David? She said. I need you, he said. Meet me soon before I get called in to see Fortunato. Rayford and Leah agreed to meet Chloe in a mostly destroyed banquet hall that had been turned into a dimly lit, dingy bar. They were ignored, sitting in a dark corner, huddled against wind that gusted through huge gaps in the wall. Rayford and Chloe embraced, but he wasted little time chastising her. This is more dangerous than staying put, even if Hattie leads the GC right to the safe house. There's a chance they won't find the underground. We need the new place, Dad, she said, and I'm tired of doing nothing. Granted, but let's not get crazy. Leah's phone chirped. This is, Jerry Seaver. Oh, I'm sorry. I clicked. Oh, no, Leah said. That was mean. I'm sure of it. Hit call back, Rayford said. Any doubts Buck had about James' physical condition were erased when they finally left the night visitors. Chaim knew exactly where they were headed. He had ripped from one clean corner of his blanket a piece large enough to fit under his hat and extend down the back of his neck and both sides of his face. His nondescript shirt and blousy pants made him look like any other Israeli day laborer, and he had replaced his slippers with boots. Buck had a tough time keeping up with him. He jogged as Chaim walked quickly and though the man was a foot shorter and more than 30 years older, he wore Buck out. We get to America, and what? I'm holed up with Tyson and you? I won't need to kill myself. You'll both talk me to death. There's nothing we could say that you haven't heard already, Buck said, gasping and grateful that the comment had made Chaim stop briefly. Now there's the truest thing I've heard all day. That's not so, Buck said, slow to start moving again when Chaim took off. What? Chaim said a step and a half ahead. The truest thing you heard today was that you are lost. Again, Chaim stopped and turned. I'm lost? Yes. In the dim light, in the middle of the ravaged city of God, Buck saw the pain in his friend's face. You don't think I know I'm lost? Chaim said. If there's one thing I do know, one thing I am certain of, it is that I'm lost. Why do you think I would sacrifice myself to murder the greatest enemy my country has ever had? I did not expect to survive. I was ready to go. Why? Because I am lost? Nothing to live for, nothing. My farewell act was to be of some benefit to Israel. Now the deed is done, and I am here, and yes, I am lost. Buck was desperate that Chaim not give them away with his ranting, but that was only one reason he approached his dear friend. arms outstretched, and embraced him. You don't need to be lost, Chaim. You don't need to be. And the old man sobbed in Buck's arms. And that is the end of chapter 10. And next I'll be reading chapter 11. Thank you for joining me and have a wonderful day.